Hey guys, Nate Richards here, richardsguitarstudio.com and ultimateguitartraining.com. Wanted to go over some classical music with you today. A piece called Moderato by Carcassi. And I'm going to demonstrate it first, and I'll talk to you about some of the techniques that you'll use when learning this piece. Okay, so that's the piece. There are three main techniques that we want to use here. First, we want to get your hand position set up. So your right hand, when you're playing electric guitar, if you're an electric guitar player or you play with a pick normally, your wrist is really close to the guitar when you're strumming. For classical, you want your wrist to be elevated so that your fingers have room to move. If your wrist is too close, you're going to pick up like that, and you don't want that. Or you want to be able to follow through like this into your hand. Alright, so that's the first thing. As far as positioning and all of that, I wouldn't worry about it too much if you're just starting right now. That's something a teacher or future videos we can address. So the first part is a alternating thumb and finger, and that's where your thumb plays a note, a melody note, and the finger, in this case it's the middle finger, is going to pluck one note over and over and over again as you go. So it's thumb, middle, thumb, middle, thumb, middle, thumb, middle. And in the notation and tablature, if you look at the notation, the thumb melody is in the stems down. Alright, the stems are going down. So the thumb melody goes like this. Like that. And you alternate with the high E with the middle finger. You can take the first two notes and practice that to get the alternation down. Thumb, middle, thumb, middle, thumb, middle. Alright, so that keeps coming back throughout the piece. Alright. Later on, in the second section, where it plays a C chord or C note, the middle finger is on the open G, and the thumb note, the thumb melody is lower. Alright, so you can practice it in that area of the guitar as well. In the second measure, there's an arpeggio. Thumb, index, middle, ring. In classical guitar, that would be P-I-M-A. Alright? So what you want to do is get your hands set up, or your fingers set up on the strings that they have to play. So in this case, it's the A string, G, B, and E. Alright? And they're all set up like this. Thumb, index, middle, ring. And they're all planted on the string. And then when you play the arpeggio, you take one off at a time. Thumb, index, middle, ring, and then your hands off. Alright? Like that. So when you play this, it's an A minor arpeggio. You're going to have them all down and then play. Like that. So that's the arpeggio. You can practice that with different chords. In the third measure, there's an E major arpeggio. Oh, sorry. That's E, G sharp, B, and then high E. Later on, there's a C. Alright, so you can take all those and kind of put them together if you want. Make your own arpeggio exercise. But you have to remember, each time you play an arpeggio, your fingers have to plant back down on the strings. Plant as you play the thumb. Plant. last technique that we have is finger tremolo, and there are 5 E's in a row at the end of the arpeggio in measure 2. So that's going to be ring, middle, index, middle, ring. Ring, middle, index, middle, ring. Sorry. And then the A, M, I, those again are your finger letters, A, M, I, and they're listed in there in the notation. A, M, I, M, A. A, M, I, M, A. Alright? So you put the arpeggio and the tremolo together, and you get this. Like that. Alright? So these 3 techniques come rapidly, one after the next. Alright, alternating. Thumb and finger alternating. Arpeggio. Tremolo. Alright. So that's essentially the techniques that are used in the piece. One more time with that. The first 2 measures slow. So if you can get that, you can get the rest of the piece. Alright, there's just obviously a lot more notes you have to learn. Alright, so I'll play it one more time. No repeats, I'll just go straight through. By the way, you'll notice I repeated the first section but not the second section. Even though there's a repeat sign written there, I find that the end of the second section, it sounds so final that you know, I feel like the piece is over at that point. So one more time through, no repeats. I did forget to mention a couple things. One would be the left hand fingerings. Make sure you check above the tabs. There are a couple points where I put in some left hand finger numbers just because it's not a really standard fingering sometimes. So for example in the beginning it's 2, 3, 1, 2, 4. And that's kind of a weird exchange to get used to. Also there's one point where you have to play this chord, G sharp and F, where they're both on the first fret but you're using your second finger for this first fret up here. Alright, that's one spot that's a little bit weird. One other spot with the right hand, if you look in the second to last measure of the first section, there's a chord where you have to do the tremolo on the second string. It's a B7 chord, and that's a little bit harder to get the tremolo to work on the second string without accidentally hitting other strings. Like that, you might accidentally hit the E string, so sometimes that can be difficult. So double check your fingerings, practice your techniques, and have fun with the piece. Send me an email if you have any questions. Good luck.